You could post a video and out of thin air, you can go viral. You didn't find it out yourself. You could be legally liable for that part. They watch one episode of Selling Sunset and they're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make so much money.
How much success did you have in door knocking for real estate? Everybody wants to be a real estate agent, but how do you be a great real estate agent? Well, today we're here with Gartland, who's been in the real estate industry for over 3.5 years, now selling a lot of luxury homes here in Vancouver. And he's gonna tell us everything we need to know about being an effective real estate agent. Right? As a new real estate agent, how should I invest my time into different areas? So if we were to break our time into a pie chart of 5 different areas, what do you think these 5 areas would be and how would you allocate your time?
I do think that social media is such a huge proponent in this industry now where you could post a video and out of thin air, you can go viral and you can get a multitude of clients from there. So percentage wise, I would do 20% social media, 40% open houses, 10% specific door knocking that's kind of associated with that open house, 15% sphere of influence. So people that you already know, I would start reaching out to them and just being very honest and forthcoming, saying, hey, I'm in this industry now. Is there anyone at all that I can take out for a coffee and pick their brain, whether they're in the industry or not, or they have an intention to buy or sell down the road? And then that other remaining 50%, market knowledge. Right. You have to know what you're talking about in the area that you want to specialize in. You have to know what the building's doing, or let's say there's a building downtown, a client wants to write on it, but you know that there's going to be a 50-story tower going right next to it. So you're going to have to deal with construction noise, delays, traffic, potentially your unit being blocked. So you have to know what you're talking about. Right. And you got to be honest about it.
What do you think are the top 3 mistakes that someone needs to look out for doing a transaction, especially when they're not as experienced?
I would definitely say just do your due diligence. Read the strata documents if it's a strata property. If it's a detached home, how old is the house? Is there an oil tank that you have to look out for? You really have to be careful with stuff like that because let's say down the road, 6 months down the road, client's already closed on the property and there's an issue and you didn't find it out yourself. You could be legally liable for that. There's a lot of homework that you have to do when working with clients and make sure you're really taking care of them to avoid any kind of setback.
Well, to what extent do you think due diligence needs to be done?
Honestly, as deep as you can and as fast as you can as well. It really comes down to you have to be quick and you have to do a quality job with what you're doing. Otherwise, you lose the deal and your client isn't too happy.
So one is due diligence. That's a super obvious one.
Yeah.
What do you think is a not obvious mistake that people need to look out for?
Don't expect the world right away. Don't come into this business and just think people are going to hand you business, especially family and friends. Sometimes it doesn't work that way. And yeah, it's fantastic when you have listings or deals spoon-fed to you on a silver platter, but at the same time, a lot of agents, they come into this business and they think it's a walk in the park. They watch one episode of Selling Sunset and they're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make so much money. I'm gonna make $500,000 on a $20 million house in my first year, when in reality, when I first got my license, it took me about 6 months to get my first sale. And obviously behind the scenes leading up to that, it's a lot of work. And it just really comes down to it's a marathon and not a sprint.
Right, so that's really interesting. You mentioned it took you 6 months to get your first sale. So for a lot of people, when they do become a real estate agent, how do you get your first sale?
Patience, a bit of luck and determination. It's kind of like you ride the edge between all 3 of those things. And a lot of the time you put in all this work and you don't see anything to come to fruition from that.
Right.
So even to this day, what I'll do is I'll host an open house Saturday, Sunday, just relentlessly. And I pump that over my Instagram, pump that over socials. But even then, it takes a while when, let's say, hypothetically, you meet someone in that open house. Most likely, 95% of the time, they're not going to buy that property on the spot. And I've been lucky enough where that did actually happen to me, and I feel like that was like once in a lifetime. But at the same time, it's you have to put in so much work behind the scenes that's not glorified like it is on Instagram. That's what happens a lot with agents now, is that, like we said, they think it's really easy to break into it, when breaking into the luxury space, it takes years.
Right. Well, I think your approach is really different. Your approach is, I'm going to start doing real estate and then I find real estate clients. Where I feel like a lot of the other people here, it's like, oh, my family needs me to do real estate. Or I already know some people who want some real estate and I want to be their broker. And then they get into real estate. Yeah. Right. But I think for a lot of people, when they're doing their first property, there's 2 approaches you can take. One is a faster approach and one's a slower approach. The faster approach is like, I'm just gonna try to do deals and make a lot of mistakes.
Yep.
There's ups and downs of this. One
Yeah.
is you learn really fast, but mistakes in real estate can be very big mistakes.
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. Obviously, everyone makes mistakes. I make mistakes because even my first open house, I was so nervous. Like I was tripping over my words. Yes, I knew everything about the property, but at the same time, obviously, I was so fresh into the business. And from a consumer standpoint, if I was coming into an open house and I saw me, I'd be like, no chance.
Yeah.
Like, zero chance.
You were talking about how you have a little bit of fear, and I'm sure
Yeah.
everyone has fear. So at what point is it okay to pull the trigger to go for transactions and really go like, okay, I know what I'm doing?
Just don't overthink it and just dive right in. Because even to this day, sometimes when I'm pitching for a really high value potential listing, the imposter syndrome is still there. Like that doesn't go away. And I feel like I still have a long ways to go to get over that. So I think that what I did when I was interning, I think that was a smart play because I was also bartending at the same time, but I was prepping myself to actually get thrown into the deep end when that license came through. So I was learning the contracts behind the scenes, learning how to use the MLS, all that kind of stuff. So I think that just being honest with your client and really listening to them, because I find that sometimes agents will overpower their client and just spew information that they think is important to the client when in reality, the client wants something completely different.
Well, this is a very interesting thing you said, because I think for this, there are two types of clients. And right now you are working in more of a luxury real estate market where you are getting more of the clients that are more well educated. They know what to do, what to want. They also know how to do their own research.
Correct.
But also in the luxury market, I think there are those type of clients that need someone to just go in and tell them everything, or else they might feel like you're not doing enough, just servicing, they don't know what to do.
Yeah,
So
there's a lot of coaching that needs to be done because sometimes when it's your first home that you're buying or your first deal that you're doing, it's almost like you have to learn on the fly really quick. And especially during multiple offers, you need to be on your game all the time. And sometimes coaching your clients can be difficult, but at the same time, it's rewarding when it actually gets over the finish.
So these days when you're choosing clients, how do you know, what are some key check marks you have to, check off to go like, okay, this is the client I want, or this is the client I don't want?
Honestly, I've been lucky because my main way of finding clients is open houses. I did try the door knocking route and that wasn't quite for me. So open houses, I like to be in front of the client and speaking with them, finding out what their intentions are, what they're really looking for, where they were before, what they're doing now, what they do for work, is their family here, et cetera, et cetera. It's just, I like to kind of know everything I can about a client because it just makes it that much more personable at the end of the day.
Right. So talk about open houses. We can get into client acquisition.
Yep.
Because most of the people I know for client acquisition, they either previously had a job working at Rolex or Chanel.
Yep.
They had all these contacts that they can already start to work with. But you're really starting from scratch. You're doing the open house door knocking grind. So for a lot of people who don't have these contacts, what is the approach to doing the open houses and door knocking grind? And what are some key strategies that you need to utilize to succeed in these two factors?
The biggest thing that I found is don't be pushy. People can smell and see desperation from a mile away, and that's one mistake that I did make.
Well, for the open houses, let's talk about a specific example. If someone were to come in, you can get to know everyone.
Yep.
But what is that converting point for a random open house person to eventually convert to be your client?
It takes a couple kind of probing questions just to see where this person is at and kind of find out where they are in the buying or selling process. And sometimes people just come in and they give you the cold shoulder, and that's completely fine. They don't want to speak to another realtor or they already have one. I respect that completely, but I like to think that I'm a relatively friendly guy and I'm just trying to figure out what that person wants. So I'll ask, oh, have you seen any other properties today that you liked? Is there something specific that you're looking for, a specific neighborhood, yada, yada, yada. And then towards the end of the showing or towards the end of the open house, I would ask, are you currently working with an agent? And just no pressure on my end if you like to work with one, or if I just set you up on email to receive listings like this one in the same budget, the same neighborhood, something like that, then I'll do so. And sometimes they say yes, which is great, and sometimes they say no.
Whether you're a first-time buyer, seasoned investor, or ready to sell, Prompton Real Estate Services is your go-to partner in Vancouver. Their market knowledge, personalized service, and commitment to success set them apart. Take the next step with confidence. Visit Prompton.com and let Prompton Real Estate Services help you achieve your real estate goals.
How much success did you have in door knocking for real estate. I'm door knocking different. I'm door knocking to play piano in people's homes.
Yeah.
So it's
Great
different.
series.
But door knocking to do sales.
When I first initially got my license, I would just be so relentless with just picking a neighborhood and just pounding the pavement. And frankly, I didn't know what I was doing. So I didn't find a huge amount of success with that. But what I did find success was when I was hosting an open house in a neighborhood, I would print off some invitations to that open house and hit 20 doors to the right, 20 doors to the left. And then that would be just an easier way of starting a nice conversation without, I don't know, coming across as pushy or putting pressure on someone to say like, hey, I'm so-and-so, let me sell your house. No, it's more like, hey, I'm hosting an open house down the street. I would love for you to attend. Here's an invitation.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. Where can people find you, Sean?
You can find me on Instagram at Sean RJ Gartland and my website, seangartland.ca.
Okay, thanks so much.
Thanks,
If
Alex.
you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and check out these videos.